Welcome to the Deployed Podcast, where strategy, ideas, and capital come to life.
Awesome. Thanks for joining the podcast. This is Deployed. I'm Michael Kearse. For those who don't know me, I'm a real estate investor and founder of the AmeriPath USA Debt Fund. Over the last several years, I've helped investors deploy millions into affordable real estate that creates consistent, secure returns while helping families across the country achieve home ownership. I created Deployed because I realized everyone has capital, whether it be money, knowledge, relationships, but very few people deploy it intentionally. So this show is about the art and science of deployment and how high performers turn potential power into real potential. So my guest today is Katherine Warren, someone who's not only an ordained minister, but she's also built a successful lifestyle brand. So Katherine, how do you usually introduce yourself? What do people who don't know you in the world usually need to know?
Well, how people do know me or if they heard of me. Well, one, thank you, Michael. How about that? Let's start with that. Let's
Yeah,
thank you, Michael, and your team for reaching out to me and inviting me onto your show. Good job for creating an initiative to help our people, help our community. Even if they don't move forward with anything, at least giving understanding, which is what we're all somewhat lacking. Like you said, we
absolutely.
all have the capital, but it's understanding how we actually can move forward in the ideal of capitalism or the idea of the capital that we have within our reach. So kudos and good job to you. So
Thank you.
those that don't know me or for those that might have heard of me or might have heard something, Kitty Rose is what I have gone by for the last 19 years. But since 2016, I became an ordained minister again with the Universal Life Church. So just increasing more visibility towards my ministry, then I would like to be known as Minister Cat. But you got to slip in that Kitty Rose.
I like it.
So
I like it.
Minister Cat or Kitty Rose. And now Harlem, all of Harlem calling me Kitty. I don't know where they get that from, but okay, I'll take it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's one of the most things that people get wrong about, what you do and how you got there?
Well, I'm sorry. Then I need a job. No, let me stop. Or that I don't have one
Interesting.
because I'm self-employed. And knock on wood, I've been self-employed for 19 years, going into 20 years. So for a
That's
lot
awesome.
of folks, the myth is that I don't work or that I don't have a job or because I don't have a corporate 9-to-5 structured type of situation where I get a check every week or every 2 weeks, then what I do is not always considered work.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. I've only been financially independent for going on 6 years now. So 20
Okay.
years, I can
Well, you made
imagine what your
5
life is like.
years. You made the
Yeah,
5-year mark.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So when did you first realize you were onto something bigger than yourself? When did that happen?
Probably after 9/11, if that's the most thing I can think of the most, because by the time 9/11 happened, I was finally at a corporate position that
Mm,
matched my skills and money. I
mm,
had came into the entertainment clothing industry at
okay.
so being, working in the industry, working with all the record labels, working with all the production houses, I was still young, so I didn't really know anything, but I was still green. So I was like, yes, 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 whatever opportunity. You want me to be in the pit at MTV? Okay. You want me to go
Yeah,
to
right.
Hamptons for the grind? Okay. You know what I'm saying? What do I know? I'm 19 years old. I don't, I'm not really thinking about, oh my goodness, I need 250 or I need 1,000. They said $50 for the night. I was okay. You know what I'm saying? But I lost my train of thought. But when 9/11 happened, I was finally at a corporate gig that the
Mm,
money was matching. Everything looked and felt fine. But I was a young mother and a young wife. And my husband was also in the clothing industry. And he was at the time just coming back from Japan because he was working for Carl Kanai. So we
okay.
both are working at positions where, kind of matches the hustle we've been doing. But when we had no money in the bank. And we were trying to figure out if we needed to escape, if we needed to get out the country, if we needed to do something, because now we're at war, what do we have as a family? Two working people. I had made 4 months later after 9/11, I made $250,000 for the showroom that I was working in.
Wow.
And I'm not even a salesperson. Bloomies, Bendels, all the major department stores, and we're in a war. 9/11
Wow.
just happened. In 4 months, I do $250,000 for a clothing company no one heard of, and probably is not even in business now today. And when I realized that I was making millions for other folks, and me and my husband didn't have any money in the bank, I was like, something got to give. And that's when I took ownership onto myself, and really not even naturally. That's how God worked. I got into not an argument, but a little with my employer. Bloomingdale's had just left our showroom, and the intimidation was hot. Like, oh, who's this cat girl, And my boss was like, well, you trying to get your husband's line into Bloomingdale's. And I was like, but even if I am, I would be doing it through you. I wouldn't do it on my own. I don't have the credit that you have. And
Right.
she was like, well, you could leave. And to me, I heard I was fired. So I left. I filed for unemployment. She denied me. I went to court. I won that settlement. And that money I got from unemployment, my husband and I opened up our first boutique. And that was my
Nice.
entry into self-employment. And even when I've tried to look back, I haven't looked back.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I like how you turn lemons into lemonade, basically.
Amen.
That's impressive. That's impressive. All right. So let's go back. Let's stay on that, right? Before
Okay.
all of the wins, right? All of the success that you have now. What version of success showed up for you? Like, who were you before the
Oh,
success?
me. I've always been a nurturer. So my success, or my best example of success, are my children. Because what self-employment allowed for me was to be a full-time parent.
Awesome.
And the result I can see in my children. How I say me, because I'm the oldest of 3. So
Okay.
even though me and my siblings are back to back, my siblings and I, proper grammar, excuse me, audience.
My daughter does that to me all the time. Catholic school education.
Right. But since I'm the oldest, and again, we're not that far apart, but I was second mom. I don't want to take that from my mother, but I was definitely the caregiver in my house growing up.
As
And
the
there's
older
so
one
much.
usually is.
Yes, and there's so much as an adult, because I got when I was 16, I got custody or rights of my 13-year-old brother. And
Okay.
then, so I've been kind of his mother slash role since he was 13. And then, I became a mom at 21,
Okay.
very early on. So the kind of nurturer that I am, even in my ministry, I've always been, which is why I was able to be a minister at such a young age. I became a minister at 10, and I was never
Wow.
about converting people. I was always about
Okay.
just sharing what I was learning. And I had old people that I would talk to, young people that I would talk to, but now I know that it was my nurturing spirit that was always the forefront that carried me through, which allowed people to always hear me, even if they didn't agree with me. So I think
Interesting.
that type of nurturing spirit that I've always had, and the lack of what I didn't have in my own household from my parents, strengthened or ignited that in me even more when it came to the raising of my children. Because I knew that I wanted to be different, but I didn't know. Because I didn't
Yeah.
even want to be a parent when I got pregnant. With none of them. I got 3. And I was mad at all 3 pregnancies. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it saved my life, having these
Interesting.
kids.
Do you think that experience and you being a nurturer and being in that position at a young age to care for your younger siblings helped you realize that you were capable of more, or helped you become more?
Wasn't aware until recently through therapy that I always had that on me. So I wasn't aware of it. What I believe now was, I think who you are is who you are. When you learn who you are is something different, but who you are
Yeah.
is who you are. So I've always been built this way, just not knowing what I was stepping into as I was stepping into it. But through the help of therapy and prayer and questioning, I have recently, when I turned 45, I started to question my life. And in the last, I want to say 3 years, at 49, is when I'm starting to really step into who I am, understand it, and really come into the fullness of it without being apologetic about it.
I'm so glad you shared that and you talked about therapy, because I've I've been going to therapy recently, and to your point,
Man, ain't it great?
you look great for 49. I wouldn't have guessed you were
No, I'm
49.
51, baby.
Oh,
49 is
50.
when I started getting a light
Oh,
bulb. But
wow.
thank you.
Wow. Yeah, you got that sauce. You look good.
Come
You
on,
look
let me
great.
show y'all what I look like. I can't see without my glasses.
You look good. You look good.
Thank you.
I just turned 44, and I kind of thought about that too. It's like, wow, I'm 44 and I'm just now getting in touch with, understanding my emotions and why I'm the way I am. So, very powerful. I love that you share that. You built something incredible. All of the things that you've done and all the research that I read about you. But I know success is more mindset than mechanics. So I want to unpack like how you think, right? So
Okay.
what principle beliefs really guide you and help you with the decisions that you make and the decisions that you make?
What's interesting about that question is that it's been faith. And I know people hate that broad answer, but I say it's been faith because if it wasn't for the Holy Spirit and the angels that were brought into my life all through my life, I wouldn't even know that I was deficient in some areas of my life, So I think the fact that I've always kind of been covered and always been looked at, even without knowing, is what really has been like the thing that has sustained me the most, because now that am in observation of, oh, wow, you didn't know you had abandonment issues because you had all these people all your life helping you and guiding you through. Just because it wasn't directly coming from my family did not mean that they weren't people that were very instrumental in how I became or how I am successful 19 years, 20 years, going into 20 years self-employed. So I want to say to answer that question that it's been the unknowing faith of just you got something in you that you got to just keep going forward and it's going to happen, because every time I put something forward to happen, it happened, and so after that happens 2 or 3 times, you kind of be like, oh, wait a minute, there's something to this if you're paying attention.
Yeah, you notice the patterns. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm one of those people that have been doing my best to pay attention, because messages come to you in so many different kind of ways. It doesn't just come from the church, or it doesn't just come from this book. It comes to you, so you have to be present in order to hear the direction. So I think that I've always been this way, and I'm just now through therapy understanding what has guided me. Because what else could it be? My life is not the norm. I thought it was. I still think it is, because I think my life could be the norm. But if it wasn't for this blind faith of, wait, don't everybody live like this? I would have, maybe questioned things like everyone else questions it. But I didn't, because I just had I had this over me that was just guiding me along every step of the way, even the bad steps. It was guiding me so that I could be an example to show people what this looks like, speak about it out loud, because I always wondered, like, why is shit happening to me? And I'm like, oh, okay, this is the reason. And even in therapy, my therapist is like, well, maybe you're the vessel. And I'm like, get the
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when we talk about deploy, right, we talk about everyone has capital. They sometimes don't look at it that way. I want to talk about like how you manage your time, energy, and relationships like assets. Like, give me some insight on how you handle that.
One, I respect people's time. You see, I was here at 10 o'clock, 9:58 to be exact. That
I
part,
love that.
you know
Thank you.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Respecting people's time is one way. Also, and I think that's what keeps people working with me, because they know that I'm about my business and I'm gonna show up, and I'm gonna show up on time. And I feel like, because that's how God and Jesus shows up for me, that's how I'm going to show up for myself. Because really, when I show up for others, I'm showing up for myself. An example of me. So if I'm not my best representation, then that's what's going to fuck up whatever future relationships I get with folks. So I think that that's why people keep fucking with me, and even if it's not directly working with me, what people have said to me is my consistency, you know and even if it's not my consistency, because they might be new, it's the new consistency. I show up, I'm about my business, even if they don't agree with me. They see that I just had a lightweight argument with someone on Facebook, and I'm like, this is not the platform for that. I'm not that one. So if you got offended, I'll take the bigger picture and say it was not me to offend you. And that was a beautiful thing, because now people got to see two people make up who don't know each other online. So it's always about
Yeah. Yeah.
presentation for me. You know what I'm saying? How does every action of my life show up in representation. So people respect that, and they come back to me and say, I might not like that, but I know you gonna tell it. You know what I'm saying? I might not like that, but I know what I'm getting. I might not, or I do like that. And that has been what has sustained me. Consistency, showing up authentic, and being my full representation so that I get what I want, I give what I want, and then I keep getting what I want in returns for repeat business. Because that's how I've been in business for 20 years. It's not, the new business is great, but it's the repeat business. It's the people that have been rocking with me, because every other year I got a new project. That's why it's the Kitty Rose lifestyle, because I'm
Nice.
doing retail, store, clothing. Then I started making earrings. Then I was doing music. Then I went to community activists, and I was at the Mary J. Blige Center. Then I'm doing gallery. So, but everything was always about community and bringing in the arts. How do I merge that? And I just merge it by showing up in my authentic self. People are, because they can't keep buying a t-shirt. They can't keep buying a book. They can't keep buying. So it's me that they're investing in, whether it's a one-woman show, whether it's my film, whether it's now TV that I'm producing, whether it's producing shows for other people. It's because people see the show up and they see me be consistent. Even when I fuck up, I will admit to it. And people are shocked by that. They're like, oh my God, she said that online? Or she told that story? Or why she did that? But then it's still some respect, like, okay, well, if she did it, then maybe I can. Or not maybe I can, but ooh, it wasn't just me. Because you know
I
what?
love it.
I knew
I
that
love
you
it.
gave me a pause for a reason. Because you know how everybody is like, I'm just sharing because if I can help someone, then that's great. No. Are you helping the person that? Just sharing your story? So in my help, I don't just share my story. I show how I got through it. I show the tools. The village is involved. I ask the village to help. I ask the village to help others. So it's not just the conversation about, well, I'm going to share my story because I can help people. Well, how are you helping them? So I help by showing up what's helping me. And I believe that has what has kept me going.
I love it. Now, so staying with that energy, right? You talk about how, you really deploy your assets, you respect time, you show up, you're your authentic self. People really respect that and are drawn to that. And it carries forward, right? Your fruits of your labor. When you think of capital, what does that word mean to you?
It means a few things, because I'm a sidebar. As holy as I am a capitalist in this country, because that is what it is made of. All the way live. You know what I'm saying? Capital for me definitely means investment, but it also means investment in your life. Because Bob Marley said it the best for me. The riches doesn't always come from money. So when you can understand that your riches comes from life, then you could be able to sustain the other parts of that life, because you understand that the value foundation is you being able to enjoy, sustain, and provide for yourself while you're here, whatever that looks like, however that means.
I love it. I love it. And so has your outlook on capital changed over the years, or has it always been that way?
Definitely probably change. Where and when, I couldn't tell you that, because if you go back to my hood, people will tell you that as a Jehovah Witness growing up, I was knocking on doors with one hand with the Watchtower and Awake and the other hand with the Avon book. At 10 years old, I was hustling and making money. You know what I'm saying? My family are blue collar workers, but everybody has a side hustle. Everybody has
Hmm.
my mother, I've known my mother longer for someone being self-employed than her having a job. I've never
That's
known.
awesome.
I met my grandmother when she was probably in her 40s. So when I met my grandmother, my grandmother's never had a job. My grandmother's sold Avon and run her own business for the last 58 years that I've been in existence. So I believe that I came from a family that always believed in that dollar. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And making your own way. I think that's where the capitalist or the capital comes from, when you can make your own, when you're not solely relying on someone else controlling how and when you make money. And I think
Absolutely.
that's the most powerful part. Even if you have a job, if you're not making other investments, you're still letting someone else control how you move and live with the money you do get in. So I believe that because I came from a I haven't done like the lineage of where my people come from, but I believe when I do, I'm going to find out that my people were merchants. My people were always probably those kind of folks that in Black Wall Street had the businesses, had the
Yeah.
general store, because I just see that's the makeup in my maternal side of my family. So I believe I've always been that way. You know, our biggest issue in our community, in the community of Black and brown, is that we're not taught about money in school.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
Mm-hmm.
not taught about money in the institutions that we are forced to go to for 12 years, you know, then our parents are taught the same thing or not taught the same thing. So if our parents are not really taught, I'll give you a quick example, fucking life insurance. My mother gave me my life insurance when I was 21, right? She goes, here, I've been paying for your life insurance, now it's you. But she never explained to me what it could do or what it was used for. So I thought it was something that old people did, and I stopped it. And I didn't start my life insurance back up now until I'm 40, into my 40s, because now I'm thinking about retirement. And I'm thinking about, because I've been self-employed, I don't have Social Security. So I got to make my own Social Security. I got to make my own insurance, my own pension. I was tired of seeing people with the GoFund, no disrespect, but with the GoFundMe for going home services. So I wanted to make sure that my children didn't have those issues. So now I'm starting to think about life insurance, and I'm sitting at the table with my agent, and he's telling me all these things I could have did in my 20s and my 30s with life insurance. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
what? So
Yeah.
now I educated my children who are in their 20s about getting life insurance and all the things they'll be able to do with it later on, you know, and still have it as an asset. But my mother never had that conversation with me. But she knew to have life insurance, but didn't tell me why and what I can do with it. So I stopped. And now 20 years went by that I could have been using life insurance to help pay for my kids to go to college or whatever have you. And I knew nothing about it until recently. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry a little bit, but
No, no, I love that you share that. I mean, it's common, right? You know, I came from a similar type of situation where, you know, there was no financial literacy. All of the financial literacy that I've learned was just on my own, just wanting more. And to your point, you just realize that, wow, there was so much information and so many things that you could have done. Like they say in real estate, the best time to invest in real estate was 10 years ago. The next best time is right now. So with that segue, talking about, you
yes,
know,
look at that.
financial literacy and investing, what types of things are getting your attention? Are you investing in anything? Are you looking to deploy your capital in any type of assets right now?
So when I got those questions for you, I should put my head down because I was like, wait a minute. Yes and no. So I started small. Let me plug my computer in.
Sure.
I started with SP 500.
Okay. Stock market.
Yep, I started with the just so because I was using, because my concern right now is building my pension that I don't have from a 9 to 5.
Right.
So I wasn't looking for any immediate investments. I was looking for long-term investments that can sit and grow. But I also knew that because I didn't know particularly what companies, or I didn't have a designated company, that I learned about the SP 500s in the different industries, so that the industry I'm in can cover 5 to 10 different types of companies that I'm invested in, rather than the one company or the different industries that I don't know about as I'm learning. Because the one thing that stood out in my mind that I had been seeing a lot of was investing in companies that I pay my bills. So if it was so that you could get that return on the products that you use all the time. So that was my first initial question to my agent. How do I do that? And then he's the one who introduced me to the different categories of the SP 500s based on industries that I can start with. So that was my initial start. My others investments to your with the real estate is I was considering buying my apartment throughout the NACA program, the first time home ownership program. So I'm really interested in the NACA program that I've heard great success stories from folks here in New York that have taken advantage of that program. But then my son and I was talking, and we wanted to do it in Philly where my daughter was going to school because she might stay in Philly. And then since she didn't, we was like, well, we do it in South Carolina because that's where my son is at. So we're thinking about, instead of doing it in South Carolina through that program, we have land in South Carolina that my brother and I, along with my son, are going into agriculture. Because the thing about investment is I didn't want to just blind invest it. I don't want to get sad, but I'm going to get real. These movies, news reports we don't listen to in the middle of the night is telling us about what's happening in the world. And my thing is, how do whatever Armageddon, calamity, invasion, zombies, virus, whatever is getting ready to happen, who is an asset? Who is still going to be valuable to our extension, our community? Your food is always going to be a necessity. So since we own 30-some acres in South Carolina, and all of the uncles and aunts, including my mother, who are heirs to that land, are older, getting ready to, in the next maybe 10 years, make their transition. So it's for now us, the grandchildren, to decide what's going to happen with the land. So we've been talking, and we want to go into farming. So
Wow, that's awesome.
Or going into agriculture, where we're going to start with a greenhouse, because of global warming really depends on nature at this point. So we're going to start with the greenhouse. So that's an investment that I'm actually working towards right now with my family, and building a capital. And how I'm building a capital is by starting with my credit, because like so many of us, we don't have bad credit because of debt. We have bad credit because of not using credit. I'm a cash girl. You know what I'm saying? So since I'm a cash girl, I pay for everything, but that's the fuck up thing. You think paying for everything is what works. Nah. So now I pay this whole year and a half, I pay all my bills on my credit cards, because I'm already going to pay it. So why not just use the credit card, send the payment to the credit card, so there's never a delay in late fees or interest, because I'm paying it as I would pay my bills, but I'm paying it on my credit card. So now I've built up my credit, because the same bills I was paying for anyway, now it's helping
Might as well use the card.
credit. You know what I'm saying? Which was something that people weren't aware of. So as I'm learning, I was like, okay, I can do it that way. I don't have to get into debt to build credit. I can just use what I'm doing already to build my credit. And it's been working.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And you didn't get sad at all. I like how you're right? You're looking at the opportunities that are coming down the pipe and saying to yourself that food is going to be a necessity. It's going to be an asset. We have this plot of land. Let's position ourselves to take advantage of that and be an asset. And that's how you look at how you're going to deploy your capital, right? As a smart investor. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, listen, that's all the time we have today.
Oh, that's it. I talked too much. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. This was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your information. I would love to, follow up with you and share with you what we're doing in our portfolio in real estate. So for those of you who are listening to Deployed, thank you so much again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Miss Kat.
Thank you, Michael.
You've been watching the Deployed podcast, where we deploy insight, capital, and growth.